Now, there's kind of the PC answer about this, which is people say, oh, you should start in your 20s and 30s thinking about retirement. Well, I mean, you should be thinking about saving in debt in your family, but honestly, you're not thinking about generating retirement income yet. That's probably, 5 to 10 years out from retirement. And right around there, really the most important thing that you need to kind of look at is, trying to visualize what you think retirement's going to look like and doing some general calculation about what you think you're going to spend in retirement. And then you can actually compare that to what you have. And what income are you going to be able to generate, and what income do you want in retirement? And if you're doing that 5 to 10 years before retirement, there are still things we can do. If you're doing that the day after you retired, there's a lot less we can do. Not saying nothing, but it really drops down. So, just thinking about those baseline things. Where do you want to live? What do you want to do in retirement? How much do you want to travel? Do you want to spend time with family? Those things are really important. It's actually really interesting when people start to decide when to retire. I like that topic. So what we see is once people set a date, we see a lot of research that I think they have just as high of a likelihood they retire halfway in between that date as the final date they pick. Even just that decision alone, right, all of a sudden, as researchers, academics, we say, so are your real retirement dates about halfway through? You just see things like that are really interesting to kind of gauge. And that actually ties us to another important point that is, again, back to that early retirement. We actually see a lot of people, it's about 45% of people say that they end up retiring earlier than they planned. And about 45% say they retire when they plan, and about 10% say they work longer than they plan. Now, what that really shows you is it's almost just as important to have a plan in place that deals with early retirement as the date you had in place, right? You basically need a backup plan because it's just as likely you're going to end up early as it is on your date. So I think that idea of having a backup plan, having some flexibility in your plan is really important. One of the quotes I use a lot from myself in the book is, retirement income planning is like trying to hit a moving target in the wind. Things are, right, you don't know how long you're going to be in retirement. You don't know how long you're going to live, right? And so that's kind of the idea of the target, right? Is the international market going to drop, right? Is something going to happen to Social Security, Medicare from a policy perspective? Our tax law is going to change, right? Realistically, all those things are going to change. So you're not going to have a straight line path. So you need to have some flexibility in your plan heading into retirement.
I just smiled really big when you talked about that earlier, the idea that your real retirement date and the date that you have in your mind that it's going to happen, having that early retirement plan as a backup. One of the things in the RICP course that you talk about is that often people will not intend to retire, but maybe they have a family member or a loved one who is sick and they've taken off time from work to help and then they never went back. Talk to us a little bit about health care, long-term care, that sort of thing in retirement.
Yeah, so, health care and long-term care, it kind of depends on who you talk to, but I tend to separate those out as different things. Now, health care and retirement, your main decision is going to be around Medicare. And so right around when you're retiring, the decisions are really crucial, making sure you sign up in time. We do have a lot of people who hit 65 are working for employers under 20 individuals. You actually need to sign up for Medicare at that time. You can't stay on your employer if they're too small of a company. And a lot of people don't know that. So what actually happens is they lose coverage and they don't have it. That's a big risk out there. So making sure that you're doing the right things about Medicare. So anyone, I usually say, that's nearing 65 needs to really review their Medicare options. If you have an advisor, talk to them. That's your biggest health care piece. If you make smart decisions there, A, B, a D, and a Medigap policy, you're in pretty good shape. You're going to have some out-of-pocket prescription drug costs above what D covers, but you're going to be in decent shape. Now, long-term care is actually more challenging. Long-term care, there's not really a whole lot of government kind of coverage until you run out of money. So we get essentially Medicaid, but you got to spend down all your assets first. So that's not a big hooray, we're good to go type of plan. That's, the safety net on the back end. But in between there's a lot of planning options, whether you're going to self-fund, whether you're going to use a traditional long-term care insurance policy, whether you're going to use what we see as kind of the more popular policies today, an asset-based or hybrid, which is mixing together your life insurance policy, which then also provides a long-term care benefit.